Hi, good evening. It's Jim from the Maverickstar Observatory. As the title states, guys, we're going to be looking at the new data that was sent in from Perth, Jeff down there in Australia. So before we get a look at that, I just want to tell you a couple of other things that we've got coming up in this video. We're going to have a little talk about the common topic that is going on at the moment. And also later on at the end of the video, I'll show you what I've built today, which might offer a few of you a little bit of hope. And it's very easy to build, and it might, be, like I say, a little bit light at the end of the tunnel. So before we do, as always, big thank you to the patrons. And again, I've noticed it is usually just a few names that keep reoccurring on the PayPal. So again, I'd like to say a big thanks to Doug, Bob, Kathy and Jen for your support you've give us this week. That will help us get these magnetometers and muon detectors out to Brazil, as well as build some of the other things that we do here on this channel, and also keep the channel and website going. And that's the main thing. So big thank you to all of you, and especially those few people. Guys, let's go and have a look at the data then from Perth and try and work out what's going on with Australia at the moment. So as soon as the computer brings us Perth, Australia, we'll get it up. And here we go. So this is the latest month's data from Australia. It seems to be bouncing around from, as we can see, 50, just above 56, say 57 to 60. We saw a lot of sporadic behaviour in Perth the month before, if you remember. We got this reading, and that ranged from almost 67 right down to 54, and then recovered a little bit. And then the month before that, it was pretty calm, and again we have seen it go down to 59 on other occasions. With all the magnetometers in the field at the moment, we are seeing, apart from Arizona, and I know we've got that coming on the 1st of April next month. Spoke to Scott down there, another one of our superstars. We're seeing a slight decay in the strengths on a lot of our magnetometers now, even here in the UK. So just saying, there is activity taking place with that, and we are still seeing it migrate towards Siberia, the magnetic North Pole, and nothing has slowed down, in my view, with regards to the the migration of the magnetic pole. But we have recently, I would say in the last 6 months, started to see a little decay in these magnetometers and their intensity strengths, especially over China and Australia. So it's going to be interesting to just follow what's going on with those magnetometers, and it's going to be exciting to see some data come out from the US, because we've not had no data from Kentucky for a while. We've not had no data from California. I think JD has left us, even though he hasn't said it. I don't think he'll be sending us any more data, and it would have been nice just to acknowledge some of those messages that I've sent him on Skype, asking for the data, or just asking whether he still wants to continue with it, because we could have got that magnetometer out in somewhere else like Canada if he didn't want to, but we seem to have lost touch with him. But it doesn't matter, because Scott is in Arizona and he's about 400 miles away from California, and that will replace California's magnetometer from this point on. We might get another one on the east coast of America at some point, so we can continue to monitor that high intensity plume that is slowly reducing up towards Canada, and at a later date we might put one also in Canada. But mainly what we need to do is get our magnetometers and our muon detectors out to Brazil, and we still, as of yet, haven't got no one coming forward from Brazil or South Central Australia. So if you're in those regions, just leave a comment in this section at the bottom of this video, and I'll hook you up with a contact Skype details, and we'll get the ball rolling from there. So yeah, let's just have a look at moving on to that popular topic that seems to be on everyone's minds at the moment. This one, I'm being cautious not to mention this, because as I have found, if I mention this in the descriptions or the tags, and I know that the algorithms also now analyze speech, so if I mention what we're looking at, it will demonetize the video. Not that we make a great deal of money from these videos, it's just that when they do mention certain hot keywords, the monetization gets pulled off. You may even see this happening on other YouTube videos. So just look at what we're seeing over in Italy right now with regards to the amount of deaths in a 24-hour period. It's showing 793, and I bet you that has gone up since this website was updated. Here in the UK, I don't think we're doing too good. We've got 179 deaths and 4,176 cases confirmed. I think it's a lot more than that, and we'll have a look at the algorithms to see how it falls in line with the prediction of what those deaths are with regards to the actual confirmed numbers, because I don't think the government are able to accurately confirm all the live cases. And I think we're at right now, although the UK shows 4,000, I think we're at around about 12,000 cases at the moment. And we are already hearing here in the UK that the doctors are leaking information from one hospital in London, stating that they're already pushed to max capacity, and we've not even, as I will show you later on, got to that point where we're going to start seeing critical numbers of people coming forward as a result of the contagious that's just being spread at the moment. But I mean, you can see the top 10 countries, Italy, Spain. You know what, I'm not even going to mention China and their figures, because we know, don't we, that they've not miraculously overnight contained this problem. And at the last count, there was 81,000 confirmed cases, and they'd already had 3,255 people die. Guys, I tell you now, it is probably close on 500,000 right now, and the number of deaths are probably around 15,000. And it is, like, as you would expect, China to cover it up, paint a rosy picture that they'd cured it in one night, but the reality of it is what they see and what they're not allowed to let out of the country. And that's why they don't allow their people to blog on YouTube or any other media, social media thingy, and they're not doing anyone any favours by covering up the facts, because other countries could use how things are going in China as to how things might go elsewhere around the world. But we know that Italy right now have had 53,000 cases of this virus, and as a result of that they have already lost close on 5,000 people. It's an enormous number of people, guys. It's like casualties of war at the moment. We're at 12,000, nearly 13,000 globally that are being admitted to. If these numbers was true, and they're not, I know that there's a lot of manipulation in these figures that are being let out by countries, even the UK. But it just makes us look like we've got one of the most appalling healthcare systems when you compare, the death rates and numbers of confirmed cases of other countries. I mean, we're not doing very good at all here in the UK, and we're supposed to be a westernised country, with a good level of technology, and yet it seems we are letting more people die than we would expect to see in other countries. And Germany, Switzerland seem to be doing a really good job. The Netherlands seem to be doing a good job, and as well as other countries as well, with the same level of numbers close to ours, or even with higher numbers than ours. But I think what's happening is, that there is a big manipulation of the numbers. Our Prime Minister is just not up for the job. I've got to say that. He's a complete waste of time. And, with what he's come out with in the last few days is just ridiculous. Because he said he has got £330 billion to throw at this. And he's going to help people that are self-employed and this, that and the other. And, what he's offered self-employed people when it comes down to it is nothing direct in terms of a bailout. Like he's going to be giving these airline companies. Are they going to get the real bailouts? Richard Branson was straight on the phone. I need £7 billion to protect the British, air industry. And, they've talked about bailing him out. There's not going to be a bailout for the little person like us. And clearly, what has now been revealed with regards to assistance to self-employed people and businesses that have been forcibly now shut down as a result of the government's actions is, I'll tell you now, it is unemployment benefit. It's a £90 a week cheque, and off you go. They've offered holiday periods on loans. They've offered businesses that employ companies loans. So no real assistance. And what they're spending the £130 billion on is very likely Cristal champagne for themselves and lavish office spaces, company cars, fuel cards, you name it. It just keep coming and coming and coming when they've established that, they are going to quantity fees that kind of money, but not really help anybody. Can you imagine if they was to get just 100 billion and divide it to the 65 million people in this country, how much we would have as a cash windfall? Well, that would be something. We had Donald Trump talk about perhaps giving everybody, on the poverty line $1,000. We all know $1,000 isn't a great deal of money, but if you've not got $1,000, it's a huge amount of money. But let's see if it materialises. Let's see if Donald Trump delivers on what he's promised. You know what, in the UK, they're not testing people. They're just telling you if you've got the symptoms to self-isolate. But, they've also said at the same time you might not have all the symptoms, you might just have one of them. And then that leaves people questioning, have I got it or haven't I got it? Okay, then I'll go down the shop anyhow because I've got to get some more toilet roll. And I still can't understand why the panic buying globally now is toilet roll. What are people shitting themselves right now? Okay. Is it a rush to be a toilet roll millionaire? I've got to have 1 million sheets to become a toilet roll millionaire. I just don't understand it. Anyhow, guys, it is appalling what's going on here in the UK. I really feel for those people in Italy. Seeing those images today on the news of the intensive care units being pushed to the maximum. I mean, how do you respond, to your nation when the hospitals have lost 793 people, nearly 800 people in just 24 hours? How do you respond to your nation's people? How do you say that you have an adequate system in place? And how do you tell people as well to give them confidence that this is something like an ordinary cold? And one thing that has come out of Italy, which is quite shocking, is now it is not just the elderly that are coming down with this virus. It is people in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s. And it is a form of pneumonia. It is causing people to drown on fluid in the lungs. And, it sounds a lot to me like a return of a plague, but they don't want to even mention that name, do they? The bubonic plague or ground zero pneumonia. That seems to be more what the case is. And anyone that is out there thinking that this isn't a real scenario, then, I think you need to wake up a little bit. We've seen it on the news. We've seen the people in the intensive care unit. We've seen the military in Italy moving the bodies on the night time. They've got thousands of people to bury over there in Italy. The hospitals are full of bodies and dying people. And, it is, can you imagine 793 people dying in a couple of hospitals in Italy in just a 24-hour period. This is what we've got coming closer to home at some points, guys. Let's have a look at what the algorithms really show us with regards to this. And these are algorithms that the governments use as well, and I'll talk more about it. Let's just get it up there and have a look at what the algorithms are showing us and give us a bit more of a clearer data when we start to panic. So here we are on the prediction app for COVID virus, and one thing I did recently was just adjust a couple of these things that you can do to calibrate it a little bit better, so you can alter the mortality complicator, the mortality rate, incubation time, but one thing I did have it set at was the resources available. Now our government reckons they've got 5,800 beds. They're hoping to get another amount of beds, so when they do, I'll add that to the resources available. But what that does is once the resources are consumed on these algorithms, you can see that the some of the indicators go red, and we're going to see this according to the information that I've put on this algorithms. We're going to see that happen here in the UK in a couple of weeks by the look of it. But the reason why I say we've probably got around about 12,000 confirmed or unconfirmed cases, or let's just say 12,000 cases of people that haven't been confirmed that are self-isolating because they are showing these acute symptoms of the virus, is because of where the number is. We're at 179 right now fatalities in the UK, and that's the number I'm concentrating on. And I'll just, according to these algorithms, I'll just go back to see what the confirmed numbers are. So if we're somewhere between 106 and 276, where we know we're 179, so it's somewhere in between these two figures. So we should have actually people somewhere in the middle of those numbers as well. Probably, I don't know, it could be 12,000, it could be 8,000. But the problem is with these algorithms, and the government's algorithms as well, is as they change their strategy on the way they handle this, then it also has to be compensated somewhere in this algorithm. But I don't think it's too far out, guys. That's why I like it. So I'm going to continue with it just to see how things progress over the coming weeks. But it does give us a bit of an idea as to what to expect. Like, if it's accurate and the strategy doesn't change too much, and I've got to say there isn't much of one being shown by the British government. They've shut the pubs down, the clubs down, cafes, bingos for the elderly, or all these meeting places. And I dare say at some point in time, when the numbers start to increase rapidly, they're going to ask the country to do what Italy has done, and that is lock down in your own homes. And when that happens, I think it will be around about week 63, week 70, day 63, day 70. And yeah, you can see the sort of numbers at the peak of this around about that time is 1.6 million, and you can also see the amount that it predicts will be dead as a result of that. And total deaths are 250,000. So at that point in time, I'm not sure how these algorithms are calculating all this, but you can see that this number actually continues from 98. Is where it really starts to hit that peak. So day 98, day 112, and that's the numbers that we're going to be losing at that point in time. So I just wanted to have a look at this chart here as well, because it shows you the amount of population that recovered and the amount of population that passed away. So 79%, according to this algorithm, are going to live in the UK, according to the the way I've calibrated it. And then you've got 11% or 11.1% dead. And as a result of that, if we go down to the population decline, we can see that that is clearly, if I just move the cursor over a little bit. Okay, so you can't see this first number here, but this first number is 1 million here, 2 million, 3, 4. I'm just trying to get, sorry, okay. So we're at this line here, it's showing that around about 3 million people, according to these algorithms, pass away. So there's a depopulation of about 3 million. So there you go, it's quite a lot of deaths. And you can see it here in the numbers as well. And this is what we've got to face. So what can we do about it? We can see that we are at day 63 here. I calibrated it from the 1st of the 1st, but we didn't have the first case until nearly the end of January. But I've gone back an extra month almost to give the algorithms a little bit more accuracy right now in the numbers of what they're spitting out, the total fatalities at this time. So so we're at day 63. We can see where we are on the scale of things, the peak that the governments want to flatten. They want to spread these numbers out over a longer period of time in order not to put too much pressure on the health care system. But you can see day 63 is here, and we are just starting to enter the blue line where it starts to increase. The next one is on day 70 and then day 77. So 2 weeks time, what are the sort of numbers that we could start seeing then in fatalities? So in 2 weeks time, we're down to this figure. Could be around about 73,000 people, confirmed and unconfirmed cases, and then the death toll in 2 weeks time could go up to as much as 3,500. So let's see if this algorithm is standing up to itself. Let's come back in 2 weeks time and see whether the death rate has gone up to 3,455 or thereabouts. But you can see that as soon as we start to run out of hospital beds, that's what we set in the resources up here. We set the amount of beds that the government told us they had. So as soon as we start to run out of those high intensity care units and beds and facilities, then people start to die, obviously, as a result of that more often. So you hit a more critical rate of mortalities, and therefore it jumps up because you simply haven't got the staff or the equipment to look after them, unless they have a magic wand and can produce beds from somewhere. So we'll get these figures will change, and if they do, I'll alter the algorithm to match the numbers of resources that they have, and it should bring the death figures down, but we'll just see. And that's why it turns red from this point on. So from day 77, which is 2 weeks away, we are completely out of resources. We know that in London, we've heard doctors on the news today screaming and panicking that they haven't got the resources, they're overworked, they're at risk themselves, and they're frightened. And the general enthusiasm is obviously being demoralised by the lack of support by the government, and that's going to be the case for everyone in this country over the coming weeks, when they start to see the death toll reach numbers like Italy have already seen today and in the previous weeks. So okay, let's have a look at this other little video of what I've built today. Maybe you want to build one, they're not hard to do, and I'll explain more when I'm showing you. So just hold on a couple of seconds, let's get that on. Some of you may have heard of colloidal silver. and this is a colloidal silver generator I built today. It's got a little air pump on there, and what that does is as the colloidal silver builds up on the rods, it just disperses it out and mixes the water up. So it's a good way of pushing the colloidal silver around the whole tank, so that you don't get like fog coming off the rods. Obviously we've got a little voltage regulator regulating the speed of the pump. You can see I've got it set right down to 1 volt. This is a 3 volt pump I've got on here, little air pump. You can see the solid silver, pure silver rods that are going down into the tank, and obviously I've just bodged up a quick temporary power pack for it. So this puts out 5 volts, so we're actually pushing 5 volts direct through the silver rods, and then we're taking a tap off of the 5 volts to run the regulator, just drop the volts down for the 3 volt pump. But we wanted to reduce the speed so it's not cranking out massive amounts of bubbles, and running at a nice slow rate, because it doesn't need a fantastic rate of bubbles. I could have reduced the slow, made it even slower than that, but there you go. So what this is doing is producing colloidal silver, and why am I mentioning this? Well, if you know about colloidal silver, you'll know that at this point in time, with what's going on around the world, this could be something that may help you. I'm not making any claims that it will, but there is nothing we can do to bolster our immune systems up about with what's going on. If I turn the bubbler off, you would see hydrogen gas bubbles forming around the one electrode, and around the other one you would see the colloidal silver, which is the mixture of, in fact I think you can see just small amounts coming off there, if I can get it into focus. So you'd have colloidal silver, which is the chlorine, at the other end. You can just see little clouds coming off there, and that is little silver particulates going into the water. You can see it does, over a period of time, change the colour of the water. So the whole idea of this is to get silver in a solution that you can drink, consume. And silver's got a lot of properties. You can see it there, just misting off it. And I know what a lot of people are going to say. It's quite a crude method you've got there. What you should have done is brought the actual voltage down from 5 volts to probably 3 volts and just around a couple of milliamps, so that the gas particles are very small. Because I know what some people would say looking at this, you are chucking massive quantities of silver into the water and you're going to burn your rods out. Well, I think it all depends on what you're after, guys. If you're after silver in water, and at what parts per million you want them, and whether you don't mind them being larger than others. I could put another voltage regulator on there and bring the milliamps down to 2 milliamps. We'd end up with a clearer solution. In fact, the solution would probably go gold, like you see gold colloidal silver. But this is something I built today. I spent a couple of hours on it. I had most of the equipment to do it, and I'm going to take it just to see what happens, because we know it's got some great properties. And just do some research on it if you've never come across the benefits of colloidal silver, and what that can do with regards to viruses. I know that a lot of procedures now in operating theatres are using a lot of silver in the the prevention of spread of infections and things like that. So perhaps what we've been doing on this planet for the last 200 years, because this isn't by any means new, people have been taking colloidal silver for years and years and years. Even I think the Romans used to store their food in silver containers, and their watering containers, because it kept it from getting germs and bacteria forming on it. So there are some good properties. I know mainstream companies that produce pharmaceuticals and medications, things like that, wouldn't agree to the benefits of colloidal silver. For the same reason they won't agree to the benefits of, cannabis. But we know cannabis does help some people with a lot of ailments that they have, where other drugs, mainstream drugs, haven't. So there are, benefits to some things that aren't widely known, and there are, obviously skeptics out there. But we've got nothing else, have we, guys, to fall back on other than something like this. And I'd rather take something in a situation like this than take nothing at all. And you can buy colloidal silver, you don't have to make it yourself, but you can make it yourself quite easily, as you see I am doing here. So all it is electrolysis using pure silver rods and an air pump and a simple voltage regulator. And I made the power pack, this little power pack that supplies this whole system. I made this out of one of these E-light cigarette chargers. So there's plenty of these things around now, and battery packs that you can use like this, and this just gets charged up by a USB cable, and then I don't have to have this system running long to get the parts per million up quite a lot. And in the coming days I'll show you what the parts per million is when I get the pen pump that tests for the silver ion in the water and the concentration rate. So yeah, maybe this could be something that you might also add to your defence or preps, especially at this time where we are facing such a threat with the COVID-19. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you guys. So it's a little colloidal silver generator, probably costs less than $50 to build, and obviously, as you can see, there's 6 wires, a couple of silver pins, solid silver, pure solid silver, a little air pump. I think that air pump cost about £3 or £4 quid. The regulator I think was £9 or something like that, and most people could put that together quite easily. A little plastic tank to hold your water in, and you can buy yourself an silver ion testing pen that tells you how many parts per millions are in there, and make your own colloidal silver. You never know, you might protect yourself against this virus, because we do know the properties. I'm not going to go through it. Do a little bit of research, find out how this deals with viruses and bacteria, colloidal silver. And the worst case scenario, if you was crazy and you drink litres and litres of this every day, it would be Algeria, which is where your skin turns blue. There is a guy on YouTube, if you just type in colloidal silver, I'm sure you're going to see this guy who looks like a Smurf, where his skin has actually turned blue for drinking too much. But the main point is, it didn't kill him. And so I just think it's worth me trying it, especially as the risks are running higher and higher as the weeks move on, as we get closer to this peak where everything is happening. Anyway guys, I just thought I'd share this with you. And of course, before I end the video, just a quick reminder, we want to get this equipment out. Brazil, South Central Australia, drop me a line in the comment section, and I will mention just this once, the link down there, if you want to help support what we do at the observatory, because we do a lot, guys. This is what I'm talking about. We're not just talkers, we're proactive, and we're trying to come up with solutions, and that's all this one is here. It's just a solution to perhaps a problem we all might face at some point in time, and it may work, it may help us. Yeah, gotta have a bit of hope, haven't we? Okay, links down there if you want to help support what we do at the observatory. And as always, you have a great evening, take care of your loved ones, and as always, bye for now.